Please like the video and share it so that it reaches many more people and you get sawaba, or rewards from Allah. This could be a sawabe jariyah or continuous reward for you long after you are gone.
Volume 7, Book 64, number 274. Narrated by Ali. Fatima went to the Prophet complaining about the bad effect of the stone hand mill on her hand. She heard that the Prophet had received a few slave girls. But, when she came there, she did not find him, so she mentioned her problem to Aisha. When the Prophet came, Aisha informed him about that. Ali added, so the Prophet came to us when we had gone to bed. We wanted to get up, on his arrival, but he said, stay where you are. Then he came and sat between me and her, and I felt the coldness of his feet on my abdomen. He said, shall I direct you to something better than what you have requested? When you go to bed say, Subhan Allah, 33 times, Alhamdulillah, 33 times, and Allahu Akbar, 34 times, for that is better for you than a servant. Volume 7, Book 64, number 275. Narrated by Ali bin Abi Talib. Fatima came to the Prophet asking for a servant. He said, may I inform you of something better than that? When you go to bed, recite Subhan Allah 33 times, Alhamdulillah 33 times, and Allahu Akbar 34 times. All added, I have never failed to recite it ever since. Somebody asked, even on the night of the Battle of Siffin? He said, no, even on the night of the Battle of Siffin. Volume 7, Book 64, number 276. Narrated by Al-Aswad bin Yazid. The first asked, Aisha, what did the Prophet use to do at home? She said, he used to work for his family, and when he heard the adhan, call for the prayer, he would go out. Volume 7, Book 64, number 277. Narrated by Aisha. Hind bint Utbah said, O Allah's Apostle, Abu Sufyan is a miser and he does not give me what is sufficient for me and my children. Can I take of his property without his knowledge? The Prophet said, take what is sufficient for you and your children, and the amount should be just and reasonable. Volume 7, Book 64, number 278. Narrated by Abu Hurairah. Allah's Apostle said, the best women among the camel riders are the women of Quraysh. Another narrator said, the Prophet said, the righteous among the women of Quraysh are those who are kind to their young ones and who look after their husband's property. Volume 7, Book 64, number 279. Narrated by Ali. The Prophet gave me a silk suit and I wore it, but when I noticed anger on his face, I cut it and distributed it among my women folk. Volume 7, Book 64, number 280. Narrated by Jabir bin Abdullah. My father died and left 7 or 9 girls and I married a matron. Allah's Apostle said to me, O Jabir, have you married? I said, yes. He said, a virgin or a matron? I replied, a matron. He said, why not a virgin? So that you might play with her and she with you, and you might amuse her and she amuse you. I said, Abdullah, my father, died and left girls, and I disliked to marry a girl like them, so I married a lady, matron, so that she may look after them. On that he said, may Allah bless you, or, that is good. Volume 7, Book 64, number 281. Narrated by Abu Hurairah. A man came to the Prophet and said, I am ruined. The Prophet said, why? He said, I had sexual intercourse with my wife while fasting, in the month of Ramadan. The Prophet said to him, manumit a slave, as expiation. He replied, I cannot afford that. The Prophet said, then fast for 2 successive months. He said, I cannot. The Prophet said, then feed 60 poor persons. He said, I have nothing to do that. In the meantime a basket full of dates was brought to the Prophet. He said, where is the questioner? The man said, I am here. The Prophet said to him, give this basket of dates in charity, as expiation. He said, O Allah's Apostle, shall I give it to poorer people than us? By him who sent you with the truth, there is no family between Medina's 2 mountains poorer than us. The Prophet smiled till his premolar teeth became visible. He then said, then take it. Volume 7, Book 64, number 282. Narrated by Salama. I said, O Allah's Apostle, shall I get a reward in the hereafter if I spend on the children of Abu Salama and do not leave them like this and like this, i.e., poor, but treat them like my children? The Prophet said, yes, you will be rewarded for that which you will spend on them. Volume 7, Book 64, number 283. Narrated by Aisha Hind bint Utbah, said, O Allah's Apostle, Abu Sufyan is a miser. Is there any harm if I take of his property what will cover me and my children's needs? The Prophet said, take, according to your needs, in a reasonable manner. Volume 7, Book 64, number 284. Narrated by Abu Hurairah. A dead man in debt used to be brought to Allah's Apostle, who would ask, has he left anything to repay his debts? If he was informed that he had left something to cover his debts, the Prophet would offer the funeral prayer for him. Otherwise he would say to the Muslims present there, offer the funeral prayer for your friend. But when Allah helped the Prophet to gain victory on his expeditions, he said, I am closer to the believers than themselves, so if one of the believers dies in debt, I will repay it, but if he leaves wealth, it will be for his heirs. Volume 7, Book 64, number 285. Narrated by Habiba, the wife of the Prophet. I said, O Allah's Apostle, will you marry my sister, the daughter of Abu Sufyan? The Prophet said, do you like that? I said, yes, for I am not your only wife, and the person I like most to share the good with me is my sister. He said, that is not lawful for me. I said, O Allah's Apostle, we have heard that you want to marry Dara, the daughter of Abu Salama. He said, you mean the daughter of Salama? I said, yes. He said, even if she were not my stepdaughter, she is unlawful for me, for she is my foster niece. Thuwaybah suckled me and Abu Salama. So you should not present to me your daughters and sisters. Narrated, Thuwaybah had been a slave girl whom Abu Lahab had emancipated.